Mabuhay Kamustika, welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. In today's video, I want to talk about some ways that you, the Westerner, will need to adapt to his Filipina. I married a woman from the Philippines back in 2015, so we've been married over 7 years, so I've learned some things about adapting, and so I want to share them with you today. You'll hear a lot about the Filipina's need to adjust to her new country she immigrates to, and she'll need to adjust to her husband too. But in what ways will he need to adapt to her? Let's talk about that today. Please subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea. I'm going to do my best to help Western men adapt to life with a woman from the Philippines. You can get notifications for upcoming videos by tapping the bell and clicking on the word add to complete the process. And go ahead and leave comments. Feel free to share them with me. Maybe some of you have gone through this before and want to add some insights to this. Now, how have I needed to adapt to my Filipina wife? Well, one of them is the family bond. It's different than marrying somebody domestically. I want to caution anyone desiring to bring a Filipina to their home country on a spousal or fiancé visa not to expect her to just drop everything she's accustomed to once she's arrived. In fact, it may be more of a big deal to you that she's in your country than to her at that time, because it's still fresh, leaving her own country. The homesickness that she experiences could be pronounced and lengthy. It may last for 4, 5, or 6 months. That doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong as her husband. I'm not saying she isn't excited to be in your country, but she may not be as excited as you think or as you're expecting her to be. A Westerner is more likely to be free-spirited and not want things tying them down, but the Filipina who comes to your country wants to earn money for her beloved family and is willing to be a good wife to a man overseas. She's probably intrigued by your country, would like to explore it a little bit, but in order for you to not overreact to her strong family bond, it is helpful to accept it as it is, something that is ingrained in her culture, isn't going away. Her family is still in the Philippines, many thousands of miles away. They didn't make the trip with her. So let's talk about talking with the family. Something different than with a local relationship is she can't just go and visit her family and friends, knock on the door and visit with them, have some coffee, talk to them in person. With a Filipina, she takes the time zone difference into account and will communicate back home on her phone with a certain amount of regularity, right when she has that window of opportunity. You might think that she just talked to her family yesterday. Why the need to do it again today? But she has a lot of family, might have a lot of friends too. Try not to see this as not being interested in you. It's just that I think you have to allocate a certain amount of time for her to talk to her family. It really is an investment in your marriage. Another thing to adapt to here, financially, supporting her family financially. Now, if your Filipino wife doesn't want to work, unlikely, or if her husband doesn't want her to work, then he would need to be prepared himself to send money back home, either on a regular basis or for certain situations. She's not coming to your country to not help her family. So somebody's going to help them. Now, this should be talked about before getting married. Neither one of you will know what is coming down the pike with needs. It's impossible to tell. I think a Filipina will want to limit the help from her husband so as to not take advantage of him or give him the impression that she is, and will have an obligation to help her family in various ways. Social media. It's another adaptation for the Westerner. Your Filipina might spend more time with Facebook and Facebook Messenger than you were expecting, but she needs that. She has more friends than you do, in all likelihood. My wife quickly rounded up more friends than I had at the time when she got here. And she's got all these family members she's been keeping up with, so you shouldn't try to deny her that on social media. She'll appreciate being allowed to use social media. It would be a terrible mistake to say, no, you can't use it. You're my wife now. We've got to spend time together. My wife enjoys some music videos. She watches some popular television shows from the Philippines. There's no reason to limit that once she has immigrated. How about driving? While a wife prospect in your country can already drive, most likely, not as likely with a Filipina. There are advantages to teaching your Filipina wife how to drive, and this is something you might prefer to avoid. But keep in mind that she wants to work. I'm sure she does. Either you will need to pick her up at her job and take her there, or she will need to do it herself. So she will need a car, and might have to be a second car, and then she'll need to be taught how to drive. Quickly about Tampo, this Filipino version of silent treatment, something may or may not have to adapt to, but many bring this up. And I'll link a video for you in the description box I made a while ago about what I believe is the best way to handle Tampo from a Filipina. Essentially, it comes down to learning what she's upset by or about, letting her have her space while she is in Tampo, silent treatment, not troubling her to snap out of it, and apologizing for what has upset her, and then being good to her. We've been married since May of 2015. Tampo really hasn't been a problem. I think right away my wife was honest with me, and she said, I just don't feel like talking right now. I'll be fine later. Just leave me alone for a while. And then that was good. I mean, that's better than wondering why in the world she's not talking to me and if she's going to talk to me. So she handled it really well, and that helped me. Just understand with Tampo, her feelings are hurt. Her feelings aren't wrong. Give her time. Say you're sorry. Learn from the experience. I think it's only a big deal when there's just big misunderstanding. And my video will explain why she does it and what she wants you to do when she is in Tampo. Unfamiliarity. She will not know where anything is if she has just immigrated, so this will take some time for her, especially to adjust to. She probably won't want to just stay home, or she'll get bored. Another adaptation that is needed from her Western husband. Then there is the language. If you aren't used to hearing an unfamiliar language around you, this could be annoying. But it's just something a Westerner will have to block out or adjust to. Whether it's talking to her family and friends or watching a show from the Philippines, you will hear the Filipino language a lot in your house. And I think I've got one more here. Let's talk about cooking. She will likely want to stick with her favorites from the Philippines, including white rice. And you may not be used to the aroma of certain foods she cooks, but it's just something to accept. If possible, she will want to locate a good Asian grocery store to buy her favorite foods from the Philippines that she's used to. Now, there are the usual adjustments to a spouse, but the ones I listed first are probably the main ones to be concerned about with a woman from the Philippines. Being able to adapt is crucial when you are together with your love beyond the sea.